نحن نحيي الموتى ونكتب ما قدموا وآثارهم وكل شيء أحصيناه في إمام مبين. واضرب لهم مثلا أصحاب القرية إذ جاءها المرسلون إذ أرسلنا إليهم اثنين فكذبوهما فعززنا بثالث فقالوا إنا إليكم مرسلون قالوا ما أنتم إلا بشر مثلنا وما أنزل الرحمن من شيء إن أنتم إلا تكذبون. قالوا ربنا يعلم إنا إليكم لمرسلون وما علينا إلا البلاغ المبين. قالوا إنا تطيرنا بكم لئن لم تنتهوا لنرجمنكم وليمسنكم منا عذاب أليم. قالوا طائركم معكم أئن ذكرتم بل أنتم قوم مسرفون. وجاء من أقصى المدينة رجل يسعى قال يا قوم اتبعوا المرسلين اتبعوا من لا يسألكم أجرا وهم مهتدون. وما لي لا أعبد الذي فطرني وإليه ترجعون. أتخذ من دونه آلهة إن يردن الرحمن بضر لا تغني عني شفاعتهم شيئا ولا ينقذون. إني إذا لفي ضلال مبين. إني آمنت بربكم فاسمعون. قيل ادخل الجنة قال يا ليت قومي يعلمون بما غفر لي ربي وجعلني من المكرمين. وما أنزلنا على قومه من بعده من جند من السماء وما كنا منزلين. إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم خامدون. يا حسرة على العباد ما يأتيهم من رسول إلا كانوا به يستهزئون. ألم يروا كم أهلكنا قبلهم من القرون أنهم إليهم لا يرجعون. وإن كل لما جميع لدينا محضرون. وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون. وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون. سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون. وآية لهم الليل نسخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون. والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم. والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم. لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون. وآية لهم أنا حملنا ذريتهم في فلك مشحون وخلقنا لهم من مثله ما يركبون. وإن نشأ نغرقهم فلا صريخ لهم ولا هم ينقذون إلا رحمة منا ومتاعا إلى حين. وإذا قيل لهم اتقوا ما بين أيديكم وما خلفكم لعلكم ترحمون. وما تأتيهم من آية من آيات ربهم إلا كانوا عنها معرضين وإذا قيل لهم أنفقوا مما رزقكم الله قال الذين كفروا للذين آمنوا ونطعم من لو يشاء الله أطعمه إن أنتم إلا في ضلال مبين ويقولون متى هذا الوعد إن كنتم صادقين ما ينظرون إلا صيحة واحدة تأخذهم وهم يخصمون فلا يستطيعون توصية ولا إلى أهلهم يرجعون ونفخ في الصور فإذا هم من الأجداث إلى ربهم ينسلون قالوا يا ويلنا من بعثنا من مرقدنا هذا ما وعد الرحمن وصدق المرسلون إن كانت إلا صيحة واحدة فإذا هم جميع لدينا محضرون فاليوم لا تظلم نفس شيئا ولا تجزون إلا ما كنتم تعملون إن أصحاب الجنة اليوم في شغل فاكهون هم وأزواجهم في ظلال على الأرائك متكئون لهم فيها فاكهة ولهم ما يدعون سلام قولا من رب رحيم وامتازوا اليوم أيها المجرمون ألم أعهد إليكم يا بني آدم ألا تعبدوا الشيطان إنه لكم عدو مبين وأن اعبدوني هذا صراط مستقيم ولقد أضل منكم جبلا كثيرا أفلم تكونوا تعقلون هذه جهنم التي كنتم توعدون اصلوها اليوم بما كنتم تكفرون اليوم نختم على أفواههم وتكلمنا أيديهم وتشهد أرجلهم بما كانوا يكسبون ولو نشاء لطمسنا على أعينهم فاستبقوا الصراط فأنى يبصرون ولو نشاء لمسخناهم على مكانتهم فما استطاعوا مضيا ولا يرجعون ومن نعمره ننكسه في الخلق أفلا يعقلون وما علمناه الشعر وما ينبغي له إن هو إلا ذكر وقرآن مبين لينذر من كان حيا ويحق القول على الكافرين أولم يروا أنا خلقنا لهم مما عملت أيدينا أنعاما فهم لها مالكون وذللناها لهم فمنها ركوبهم ومنها يأكلون ولهم فيها منافع ومشارب أفلا يشكرون واتخذوا من دون الله آلهة لعلهم ينصرون لا يستطيعون نصرهم وهم لهم جند محضرون فلا يحزنك قولهم إنا نعلم ما يسرون وما يعلنون أولم ير الإنسان أنا خلقناه من نطفة فإذا هو خصيم مبين وضرب لنا مثلا ونسي خلقه قال من يحيي العظام وهي رميم قل يحيي الذي أنشأها أول مرة وهو بكل خلق عليم الذي جعل لكم من الشجر الأخضر نارا فإذا أنتم منه توقدون أوليس الذي خلق السماوات والأرض بقادر على أن يخلق مثلهم بلى وهو الخلاق العليم إنما أمره إذا أراد شيئا أن يقول له كن فيكون فسبحان الذي بيده ملكوت كل شيء وإليه ترجعون صدق الله العلي العظيم.
اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. أحسنت. الفاتحة.
صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. Ahsantum, brothers and sisters, just a quick announcement, inshallah, as we heard this beautiful recitation of Surah Al-Yasin by Brother Ilyas. May Allah accept this offering on behalf of us, those who are present over here and the marhumeen. Inshallah, on this topic of Quranic appreciation, exploring Surah Al-Yasin, there will be a kids class in the library that will take place for girls and boys between the age of 7 to 15. So inshallah, I'd like to encourage my younger brothers and sisters to benefit from this, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد اللهم إني أسألك برحمتك التي وسعت كل شيء وبقوتك التي قهرت بها كل شيء وخضع لها كل شيء وظل لها كل شيء وبجبروتك التي غلبت بها كل شيء وبعزتك التي لا يقوم لها شيء وبعظمتك التي ملأت كل شيء وبسلطانك الذي على كل شيء وبوجهك الباقي بعد فناء كل شيء وبأسمائك التي ملأت أركان كل شيء وبعلمك الذي أحاط بكل شيء وبنور وجهك الذي أضاء له كل شيء يا نور يا قدوس يا نور يا نور يا قدوس يا أول الأولين ويا آخر الآخرين اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تهتك العصام اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل النقام اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تغير النعم اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تحبس الدعاء اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تقطع الرجاء اللهم اغفر لي الذنوب التي تنزل البلاء اللهم اغفر لي كل ذنب أذنبته وكل خطيئة أخطأتها اللهم إني أتقرب إليك بذكرك واستشفع بك إلى نفسك وأسألك بجودك أن تدنيني من قربك وأن توزعني شكرك وأن تلهمني ذكرك اللهم إني أسألك سؤال خاضع متذلل خاشع أن تسامحني وترحمني وتجعلني بقسمك راضيا قانعا وفي جميع الأحوال متواضعا اللهم وأسألك سؤال من اشتدت فاقته وأنزل بك عند الشدائد حاجته وعظم فيما عندك رغبته. اللهم عظم سلطانك وعلى مكانك وخفي مكرك وظهر أمرك وغلب قهرك وجرت قدرتك ولا يمكن الفرار من حكومتك. اللهم لا أجد لذنوبي غافرا ولا لقبائحي ساترا ولا لشيء من عملي القبيح بالحسن مبدلا غيرك. لا إله إلا أنت سبحانك وبحمدك ظلمت نفسي ظلمت نفسي ظلمت وتجرأت بجهلي وسكنت إلى قديم ذكرك لي ومنك علي. اللهم مولاي كم من قبيح سترت وكم من فادح من البلاء أقلته وكم من عثار وقيته وكم من مكروه دفعته وكم من ثناء جميل لست أهلا له نشرته. اللهم عظم بلائي وأفرط بي سوء حالي وقصرت بي أعمالي وقعدت بي أغلالي وحبسني عن نفعي بعد آمالي وخدعتني الدنيا بغرورها ونفسي بخيانتها ومطالي. يا سيدي فأسألك بعزتك ألا يحجب عنك دعائي سوء عملي وفعالي ولا تفضحني بخفي ما اطلعت عليه من سري ولا تعاجلني بالعقوبة على ما عملته في خلواتي من سوء فعلي وإساءتي ودوام تفريطي وجهالتي وكثرة شهواتي وغفلتي. وكن اللهم بعزتك لي في كل الأحوال رؤوفا وعلي في جميع الأمور عطوفا. إلهي وربي من لي غيرك أسأله كشف ضري والنظر في أمري. إلهي ومولاي أجريت علي حكما اتبعت فيه هوى نفسي ولم أحترس فيه من تزيين عدوي فغرني بما أهوى وأسعده على ذلك القضاء فتجاوزت بما جرى علي من ذلك بعض حدودك وخالفت بعض أوامرك فلك الحجة علي في جميع ذلك ولا حجة لي فيما جرى علي فيه قضاءك وألزمني حكمك وبلاؤك. وقد أتيتك يا إلهي بعد تقصيري وإسرافي على نفسي معتذرا نادما منكسرا مستقيلا مستغفرا منيبا منيبا مقرا مذعنا معترفا لا أجد مفرا مما كان مني ولا مفزعا أتوجه إليه في أمري غير قبولك عذري وإدخالك إياي في سعة من رحمتك. اللهم فاقبل عذري وارحم شدة ضري وفكني من شدي وثاقي. يا رب ارحم ضعف بدني ورقة جلدي ودقة عظمي. يا من بدا خلقي وذكري وتربيتي وبري وتغذيتي هبني لابتداء كرمك وسالفي برك بي. يا إلهي وسيدي وربي أتراك معذبي بنارك بعد توحيدك وبعد من طوى عليه قلبي من معرفتك ولهج به لساني من ذكرك واعتقده ضميري من حبك وبعد صدق اعترافي ودعائي خاضعا لربوبيتك. هيهات هيهات أنت أكرم من أن تضيع من ربيته أو تبعد من أدنيته أو تشرد من آويته أو تسلم إلى البلاء من كفيته ورحمته. وليت شعري يا سيدي وإلهي ومولاي أتسلط النار على وجوه خرت لعظمتك ساجدا وعلى ألسن نطقت بتوحيدك صادقا وبشكرك مادحا وعلى قلوب اعترفت بإلهيتك محققا وعلى ضمائر حوات من العلم بك حتى صارت خاشعة وعلى جوارحها سعت إلى أوطان تعبدك طائعة وأشارت باستغفارك مذعنا. ما هكذا ظنوا بك ولا أخبرنا بفضلك عنك يا كريم يا رب. يا كريم يا رب وأنت تعلم ضعفي عن قليل من بلاء الدنيا وعقوباتها وما يجري فيها من المكاره على أهلها على أن ذلك بلاء ومكروه قليل مكتوب يسير بقاؤه قصير مدته. فكيف احتمالي لبلاء الآخرة وجليل الوقوع المكاره فيها وهو بلاء تطول مدته ويدوم مقامه ولا يخفف عن أهله لأنه لا يكون إلا عن غضبك وانتقامك وسخطك وهذا ما لا تقوم له السماوات والأرض. يا سيدي فكيف لي وأنا عبدك الضعيف الذليل الحقير المسكين المستكين. يا إلهي وربي وسيدي ومولاي
لأي الأمور إليك أشكو ولما منها ضج وأبكي لأليم العذاب وشدته أم لطول البلاء ومدته فلئن صيرتني للعقوبات مع أعدائك وجمعت بيني وبين أهل بلائك وفرقت بيني وبين أحبائك وأوليائك فهبني يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي وربي صبرت على عذابك فكيف أصبر على فراقك وهبني صبرت على حر نارك فكيف أصبر عن النظر إلى كرامتك أم كيف أسكن في النار ورجاء عفوك فبعزتك يا سيدي ومولاي أقسم صادقا لئن تركتني ناطقا لأضجن إليك بين أهلها ضجيج الآمنين ولا أصرخن إليك صراخ المستصرخين ولا أبكين عليك بكاء الفاقدين ولا أنادينك أين كنت يا ولي المؤمنين يا غاية آمال العارفين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث المستغيثين يا غياث يا حبيب قلوب الصادقين ويا إله العالمين أفتراك سبحانك يا إلهي وبحمدك تسمع فيها صوت عبد مسلم سجن فيها بمخالفته وضاق طعم عذابها بمعصيته وحبس بين أطباقها بجرمه وجريرته وهو يضج إليك ضجيج مؤمل لرحمتك ويناديك بلسان أهل توحيدك ويتوسل إليك بربوبيتك يا مولاي فكيف يبقى في العذاب وهو يرجو ما سلف من حلمك أم كيف تؤلمه النار وهو يأمل فضلك ورحمتك أم كيف يهرقه لهيبها وأنت تسمع صوته وترى مكانه أم كيف يشتمل عليه زفيرها وأنت تعلم ضعفا أم كيف يتقلقل بين أطباقها وأنت تعلم صدقا أم كيف تزجره زبانيتها وهو يناديك يا رب أم كيف يرجو فضلك في عتقه منها فتتركه فيها هيهات هيهات ما ذلك ظنوا بك ولا المعروف من فضلك ولا مشبع لما عاملت به الموحدين من برك وإحسانك فباليقين يقطع لولا ما حكمت به من تعذيب جاحديك وقضيت به من إخلاد معانديك لجعلت النار كلها بردا وسلاما وما كان لأحد فيها مقرا ولا مقاما لكنك تقدست أسماؤك، أقسمت أن تملاها من الكافرين من الجنة والناس أجمعين، وأن تخلد فيها المعاندين، وأنت جل ثناؤك قلت مبتدئا وتطولت بالإنعام متكرما: أفمن كان مؤمنا كمن كان فاسقا لا يستوون. إلهي وسيدي، فأسألك بالقدرة التي قدرتها وبالقضية التي حتمتها وحكمتها وغلبت من عليه أجريتها، أن تهب لي في هذه الليلة وفي هذه الساعة كل جرم أجرمته وكل ذنب أذنبته وكل قبيح أسررته وكل جهل عملته، كتمته أو أعلنته، أخفيته أو أظهرته، وكل سيئة أمرت بإثباتها الكرام الكاتبين الذين وكلتهم بحفظ ما يكون مني وجعلتهم شهودا علي مع جوارحي، وكنت أنت الرقيب علي من ورائهم والشاهد لما خفي عنه، وبرحمتك أخفيت وبفضلك سترت، وأن توفر حظي من كل خير أنزلت أو إحسان فضلت أو بر نشرت أو رزق بسطت أو ذنب تغفره أو خطأ تستره. يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا رب يا إلهي وسيدي ومولاي ومالك الرقي، يا من بيده ناصيتي، يا عليما بضري ومسكنتي، يا خبيرا بفقري وفاقتي، يا ربي يا ربي يا رب يا ربي يا ربي رب، أسألك بحقك وقدسك وعظم صفاتك وأسمائك أن تجعل أوقاتي من الليل والنهار بذكرك معمورا وبخدمتك موصولا وعمالي عندك مقبولا، حتى تكون عمالي وأورادي كلها وردا واحدا، وحالي في خدمتك سرمدا. يا سيدي يا من عليه معولي، يا من إليه شكوت أحوالي، يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا ربي يا رب، قوي على خدمتك جوارحي، واشتد على العزيمة جوانحي، وهب لي الجد في خشيتك والدوام في الاتصال بخدمتك، حتى أسرح إليك في ميادين السابقين، وأسرع إليك في المبادرين، واشتاق إلى قربك في المشتاقين، وأدنو منك دنو المخلصين، وأخافك مخافة الموقنين، واجتمع في جوارك مع المؤمنين. اللهم ومن أرادني بسوء فأرده، ومن كادني فكده، واجعلني من أحسن عبيدك نصيبا عندك، وأقربهم منزلة منك، وأخصهم زلفة لديك، فإنه لا ينال ذلك إلا بفضلك، وجد لي بجودك، واعطف علي بمجدك، واحفظني برحمتك، واجعل لساني بذكرك لهجا، وقلبي بحبك متيما، ومن علي بحسن إجابتك، وأقلني عثرتي، واغفر ذلتي، فإنك قضيت على عبادك بعبادتك، وأمرتهم بدعائك، وضمنت لهم الإجابة، فإليك يا ربي نصبت وجهي، وإليك يا ربي مددت يدي، فبعزتك استجب لي دعائي، وبلغني مناي، ولا تقطع من فضلك رجائي، واكفني شر الجن والإنس من عاداي. يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع الرضا، يا سريع اغفر لمن لا يملك إلا الدعاء، فإنك فعال لما تشاء، يا من اسمه دواء، وذكره شفاء، وطاعته غنى، ارحم من رأس ماله الرجاء، وسلاحه البكاء، يا سابغ النعم، يا دافع النقام، يا نور المستوحشين في الظلام، يا عالما لا يعلم، صل على محمد وآل محمد، وافعل بنا ما أنت أهله، وصلى الله على رسوله والأئمة الميامين من آله، وسلم تسليما كثيرا كثيرا. اللهم صل على الفاتحة. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. Assalamu alaikum, dear brothers and sisters. عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم. We convey our condolences to the Prophet and his blessed progeny on the death anniversary, on the Shahada of Sadiq Ali Muhammad Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi afdalu salatu wassalam. And we convey and extend these condolences to all the dear brothers around the globe. Indeed, this Imam was the Imam who has been a source of our identity, as we know from the jurisprudence, the school of jurisprudence of Ja'fari. And we all are known as the Shia of Ja'fari. May Allah bestow us the tawfiq, grant us the opportunity that indeed we are able to act upon the teachings of this noble Imam, on the teachings of the Prophet and his blessed progeny, and indeed on the day of judgment we rise as the Shia of Ja'fari. Allahumma salawat al Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Inshallah, as brothers, I'd mentioned that we've gathered over here to commemorate this notable event. And inshallah, for today's majlis, we'll have Shaykh Saleem Bhimji who will be addressing this majlis Azza. Just a quick announcement. First of all, as I'd mentioned after the recitation of Surah Al-Yasin by our dear brother Ilyas, that there's a class for the youngsters from the age of 7 to 15 on the Quranic appreciation, focusing especially on Surah Al-Yasin in the library. So encouraging younger brothers and sisters to participate in that. The other announcement is regarding Salatul Jum'ah, that'll take place tomorrow at 1:27 p.m. inshallah over here at the IHS, led by Sheikh Shafiq Huda. Just a few poetic verses in the honor of this notable Imam, inshallah, and a merciya in the honor of this, as ithal the thawab of the merciya to this notable Imam. Allah salawat Muhammad wa al Muhammad. Just to start with that, one of the poets indeed has beautifully said that indeed this Imam was a symbol of truthfulness. If you were to loosely translate that word of Sidq, indeed it encompasses a lot. Like his grandfather and all other notable Imams. And that the poet says indeed Sadaqat takes honor and takes pride to be associated with this beautiful Imam. That Sadaqat naaz karti hai, imamat aisi hoti hai. And then towards the end, the poet also writes that ज़रूरी है हवा जैसे बक़ाए ज़िंदगानी के लिए हमें भी अपने इमामों की ज़रूरत ऐसी होती है. Okay, indeed how indeed air or oxygen is needed for the sustenance, for the sustainability of the environment or the human beings on this earth. Indeed, we need our Imams in the same manner. Just a marfiya, as the poet has penned this down in the words as if the lady Zainab would have this cried even to this day, the sada of Bibi Zainab crying for her brother, and then he's telling the sawab to the Imam, inshallah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन. आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन. तेरा चेहरा तेरी आँखें भूल कब पाई हुसैन. आज भी ज़ैनब की आती है सदा भाई हुसैन. चलते नाक़े से गिराया खुद को जलती रेत पर. चलते नाक़े से गिराया खुद को जलती रेत पर. घुटनियों के बल में तेरी लाश तक आई हुसैन. بس میں گھبرائی تھی خنجر تجھ پہ چلتا دیکھ کر بس میں گھبرائی تھی خنجر تجھ پہ چلتا دیکھ کر پھر کسی مشکل میں گھر کر میں نہ گھبرائی حسین کون تھا جو مرنے والوں میں نہیں تھا خوب رو کون تھا جو مرنے والوں میں نہیں تھا خوب رو بھولنے بیٹھی تو کس کس کی نہ یاد آئی حسین دور افتادہ سفر سے لوٹ کر میں نے نوید دور افتادہ سفر سے لوٹ کر میں نے نوید ٹھنڈا پانی جب پیا بس تیری یاد آئی حسین آج بھی زینب کی آتی ہے صدا بھائی حسین ألا لعنة الله على القوم الظالمين سيعلم الذين ظلموا أي منقلب ينقلبون إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. Brothers and sisters, to address this Majlis Azza, I'd like to request respectable Shaykh Saleem Bhimji. Allah salawat al-Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala محمد وآله أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين الحمد لله الذي هدانا لهذا وما كنا لنهتدي لولا أن هدانا الله والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين وشفيع المذنبين سيدنا ونبينا أبي القاسم محمد اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المظلومين المنتجبين لا سيما مولانا وسيدي صاحب العصر والزمان روحي وأرواح العالمين له الفداء وأجل الله تعالى فرجه الشريف ولعنة دائمة على أعدائهم ومنكر فضائلهم الآن إلى قيام يوم الدين ما بعد رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. For the hastening of the return of our 12th Imam, Imam al-Hujjah, one salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. My dear brothers and sisters in Iman, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I first off begin by extending my condolences to each and every one of us who is here tonight, and also to our 12th Imam, Imam al-Hujjah, as we gathered this evening to remember the martyrdom anniversary of his forefather, the 6th Imam from Ali Muhammad, Imam Jafar ibn Muhammad salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And we ask Allah to grant us the ability to have the tawfiq to make the ziyarat of our 6th Imam and the other Imams of Baqi alayhimus salam, and to have the intercession, the shafa'at of Imam Jafar ibn Muhammad alayhi salatu was salam on the day of resurrection, for the fulfillment of all our hajat through the wasila of our 6th Imam. One more salawat upon Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. When we look at the 6th Imam, we look at ourselves actually as an introduction,
we obviously understand that we are Muslims, that we follow the religion of Islam. And, you know, when you tend to speak to people, many times, obviously non-Muslims in particular, they tend to ask us, you know, if they find out we're Muslim or they're just inquisitive, they ask us what religion we follow, and obviously we would reply that we are followers of Islam. And many times the discussion does not end there, because, you know, just like as within the Christian world, within many other religions, there are many other segments, many different groups, many different divisions. Many times people will ask, well, what kind of a Muslim are you? Maybe we've had this question before. And we tend to say that if after we're Muslims, we say, well, we are Shia, right? And so we, at one level, after identifying as Muslims, we come down and we further classify ourselves into Shia. But as we know, and maybe the Muslims might not know this, non-Muslims most likely don't know it, is that even within the Shia world, we have a lot of different groups. So you have the Ismailis, you have, you know, the Zaydis, you have so many different groups within these groups. And so we further identify ourselves as the Ithna Asharis, that we follow 12 Imams. But when we look at it even further, we see that there's even a further delineation. We further go into more of a granular identification. And yes, we are Shia Ithna Asharis. We follow Rasulullah, obviously, ultimately. We follow Amir al-Mu'mineen. We follow Imam Hassan, Imam Hussein, alayhimus salam. But ultimately, when we look at our identity as the followers, we call ourselves as the Ja'fari Shia. And this is a point that I just want to begin with tonight, is the importance of us being the Ja'fari Shia. That doesn't mean we're not Alawi. We're Alawi in that sense that we follow Amir al-Mu'mineen. Actually, we're Ahmadi. Not Ahmadi as in those Muslims in Pakistan. We're Ahmadi in the sense we follow Ahmad, Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. We're Alawi, we're Hassani, we're Husseini, we're Sajjadi, we're Baqiri. But ultimately, and we're up to Al-Mahdawi. But ultimately, we see that our identity was forged under the name of the sixth Imam. And obviously, there's many reasons that we've spoken about this in the years past of how we identified or how we attained this label as being Ja'fari Shias. I don't want to go into that tonight, but just for us to realize and appreciate that it was the time of the sixth Imam that really gave us as a community an opportunity to forge our identity. We were always obviously followers of Islam. The fiqh of Ahlul Bayt alayhum salam, the ahkam, the jurisprudence we follow, it's been there since Rasulullah's time. What Amir al-Mu'mineen performed, the prayers, we perform it in the same way. Right? So we should never think that we pray as Ja'fari Shia different than Amir al-Mu'mineen. No, he prayed as Rasulullah prayed. He prayed as he was taught by Allah. And you know, just incidentally, I remember a hadith that just comes to my mind, that in one of the Sunni hadith literatures, there's an interesting hadith that companions were performing their salat behind Amir al-Mu'mineen during his khilafat. And they describe in this hadith literally step by step of how Imam Ali performed the salat. And you know, one of the unique qualities of us as the Ja'fari is every time we have an action in the salat, before or after, we say Allahu Akbar and we raise our hands. And the hadith mentions that when this man prayed behind Amir al-Mu'mineen, and Amir al-Mu'mineen made each and every one of those takbirat in the salat, the companion says that I had never, or I don't remember praying a salat more like Rasulullah than I did that day with Amir al-Mu'mineen. So this is a continuation. Imam Ali obviously got it from Rasulullah, and it continued down the line. Unfortunately, as we know, when Karbala happened in the year 61 after the Hijrah, and from that point on, really until the time of the fifth and the sixth Imams, peace be upon them, there was a lack of scholarship in the community. There was a gap because of the Bani Umayyah taking over, because of the fact that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt specifically and their companions couldn't openly discuss and debate and convey the hadith of Rasulullah. And it was not until the sixth Imam, right? And as you know, he lived at a very precarious time of history, living his entire lifespan. It went during the time of 65 years. He crossed over 10 different khulafa of Bani Umayyah and 2 or 3 of the khulafa of Bani Abbas. And it was during the transition period of the Bani Umayyah and their downfall to the Bani Abbas that the 5th and the 6th Imams were given the opportunity to begin this cultural revolution, begin an intellectual revolution in Medina. And so tonight, when we commemorate his martyrdom anniversary, we realize that our identity was forged by Rasulullah through Amir al-Mu'mineen up until the 6th Imam, but because of issues at the time, they were not able to come out and openly speak and relate the traditions of Rasul and ala Rasul alayhimus salatu wassalam. Let me begin with a story tonight about the 6th Imam. As we know, the 6th Imam was in that position to be a bit free in his life. And when he would go for Hajj, as the Imams of Ahlul Bayt would do, one of the greatest opportunities or events at the Hajj, aside from the actual, the manasik, the rituals of the Hajj, is that the companions, people from far and wide, would come and meet the scholars of Medina, of Mecca. And obviously, I don't say that the 6th Imam is a scholar because he is the teacher of scholars, but the common people considered him to be just a regular scholar. Anyways, a man comes from Basra, a young man at this time in his life, and he enters into a majlis, into a gathering. We can just imagine this if you've been to Mecca, the Kaaba, and people sitting around you. Even if you go today, there'll be little gatherings, real discussions. And the 6th Imam is sitting, and all of these elders, the shuyukh, the elders of the tribes, are gathered around the Imam. The hadith says that an individual walks into that gathering. And now, normally when we come into a majlis, we'll find the first chair or the first spot on the ground, we'll sit down and we'll just listen to the speaker or whatever is happening. The historians say that this man enters into the majlis of the Imam, and the Imam actually makes room right beside him for this man to sit down. So the man walks in, he sits right beside the Imam. And the elders are all perplexed that who is this man that the 6th Imam is giving such a level of respect to? Because, if you're that close to the Imam, if the Imam asks you to sit beside him, you must be somebody of importance to the Imam. So the man sits, and then the 6th Imam begins to quiz him. He begins to give him an oral examination. He's testing him on the names of Allah, the sifat of Allah, the qualities of Allah. And question after question comes from the 6th Imam. And every time the Imam asks a question, this man answers the questions spot on. Not an incorrect answer comes from him. These elders, again, are looking at this man. They're perplexed at how can a man who looks so young have all of these answers. He answers all the questions, and the 6th Imam says a very important statement. He says in the Arabic, he says, هَذَا نَاصِرُنَا بِقَلْبِهِ وَلِسَانِهِ وَيَدِهِ. That this individual is our helper, our Nasir, with his heart, with his tongue, and with his hands. This young man, and then the Imam made a dua for him that he remain firm on the path, that he stay on the path of the walaya of Ahlul Bayt, that he be given the ability to learn and understand religion. And the man continues on his way. This young man was a man called Hisham ibn Hakam, a young man who, although there are a lot of discrepancies of when he was born, but on what I could piece together, he could not have been more than 18 years old at this time. 18-year-old who was actually a convert. He wasn't even born into a family that followed Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. He learned about the teachings of Ali Muhammad. He came, he learned, he studied. And he got to a point where today, if you open books of hadith, you'll see his name replete from the 5th Imam, 6th Imam, 7th Imam, 8th Imam, that they speak about him. They talk about his accolades, about who he was. And the fact that this man is so dear to Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam, that the 6th Imam would say that he is our helper in all of these ways. And tonight I want to look at, based on this, the fact that this was a young man, again, only in his late teens, maybe 16 to 18 years old. But the fact that he had such a level of competency in Islamic studies and teachings that he could be at that level, I want to look at some of the general guidelines that the sixth Imam has given to us for our Shia youth. Now, when I mention Shia youth, traditionally when we look at our community, we see that society, men and women, were divided into at least two different categories. We have the young and we have the old. We don't really have a clear definition of how to define these two terms, though. If you look at even in Canada where we live, a youth is defined in different ways, right? If you look at, let's say, the transit fare to get on the bus, they might say you're a youth until 14 or 15 or 16. But then you say, if I want to smoke, right, and I don't advocate smoking, but just to give the example, they say to buy cigarettes, you have to be over 18. To do certain things, to drive a car, you have to be a certain age. And so society itself in Canada and around the world, they will use a different age to define children from youth, from young adults, from entering into the adult phase. Islam actually, interestingly, doesn't necessarily look at youth as a number, right? So sometimes somebody says, I'm 18 years old, I'm a youth. I'm 30, I'm a youth. There is really no clear definition. There are in certain areas, but if I look at it at a general level, Islam doesn't say, okay, youth is 13 to 27, let's say. Because if you look at it in the Quran, and we have multiple examples, when Nabi Ibrahim alayhi salam is fighting in an intellectual battle with his community, and he destroys all the idols, the thing that the polytheists say, the mushrikeen of his time say, is that we have heard of a youth, yuqalu lahu Ibrahim, that whose name is Ibrahim. He was a young man at the time. At the same time, when Ashabul Kahf go into the cave and they go to sleep for 300 years and they wake up again, Allah says, "Innahum fityatun," that these were young men who believed in their Lord. So Allah uses a unique definition for youth. It's not a 14-year-old boy. It's not a 21-year-old. It's not a 30-year-old. In actuality, in the words of the late Ayatollah Shaheed Murtada Mutahari, he says that the youth is not a number per se, but it is a state of mind. It's how you think. So he says you may have people in the community who are 16, 18, 20, but they don't have a progressive mindset. They're not forward thinking. They're not, willing to change with the times in a positive way. They got the back home mentality. So he says they may be young by number, they may have been born in a certain year, but they're not young in the Islamic definition. And he says you may have people in their 40s, their 50s, their 60s, but they're willing to change. They're willing to listen to reason. They're willing to adapt to the times that they live in, again, in positive ways. And he says that those people, although they're in their 50s or 60s or beyond, they could actually be considered as youth. Just like Ashabul Kahf, 300 years old, you wouldn't call them youth, right? But because they were progressive thinking, they were believers, they were maintaining their identity, they realized the traps of the society, they were called as youth within the Quran. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Whatever the case may be, we realize that for us, from birth, from the time that we're born, until we graduate and we go into the workforce, we as a community, as individuals, need to use that time period in the best way possible. And not just to get a good university or college education, to get a job, to make money. That's always important to do. But rather to ensure that we also forge our own identity as Ja'fari Shia, what we are referred to as. And so what I want to do tonight is look at guidance from the sixth Imam to the youth in particular. But obviously this guidance will overlap, and it will also pertain to those who are parents of children. And so, although we might not have many youth in attendance tonight, in age number, youth who are in that age bracket, but inshallah all of you are youth. You're all young men and young women. And we can all hopefully learn guidance and teachings from the sixth Imam of the Ahlul Bayt alayhum as-salam. The first thing I want to talk about is this importance of the youth seeking out knowledge, right? We've heard this many times before. I've spoken about it many times. But really the sixth Imam it's the best time to talk about this. Because if you study the lives of the Imams, you realize, and I thought about this today really deeply, that it wasn't just the fact that the sixth Imam had a school, let's say an unofficial seminary in Medina where over 4,000 students were learning the worldly sciences, the religious sciences. He was showing us something very important in our lives, that there is a time and a place for everything. You know, if you look at the time of, let's say, Imam Hussein alayhi salam, right? I don't want to look at the earlier Imams, but we could even analyze it from that time. But Sayyid al-Shuhada, he would not have, now I'm not saying he didn't teach, because he taught through the dua of Arafat. We have hadith of Sayyid al-Shuhada. But his particular time when the death of Muawiyah happens and he nominates his son Yazid as the caliph, you wouldn't expect Imam Hussein to now go on a lecturing spree, going on the mimbar and giving khutbahs and sermons and majalis to change the people. The time of Sayyid al-Shuhada was a time when revolution was required. It wasn't a time to just sit and write books and call out Rasulullah said this hadith about, you know, whatever topic. That was needed, obviously, but the particular circumstance of Sayyid al-Shuhada, it called for drastic changes to society. But after Karbala, the fourth Imam, the fifth Imam, the sixth Imam, right, when there was this, so-called freedom in society, when now Islam was spreading throughout many parts of the world, when non-Muslim countries were being introduced to Islam, books were being put into Arabic from other languages, books of philosophy, books of others, and scholars of other communities were coming to debate with the Muslims. The sixth Imam, and obviously the fifth, but I'll focus on the sixth Imam more so, he realized that this is now the time for a revolution, but an intellectual revolution. And obviously we believe that everything the Imam does, any Imam at their own time, is what is exactly required of them. But the Imam realized that we're in a particular circumstance where we don't have opportunity, we don't have the luxury of launching a revolution against Bani Umayyah. Right? Not that it wasn't important, but he realized that that happened in Karbala in the year 61. And that Islam now had to progress and had to move forward. And so he took the route of an intellectual revolution. And if you think about it for a moment, as I was thinking about it, this is as important as what Sayyid al-Shuhada did. Because you see this in the world today, when you have a revolution in a country, whether it be like Iran, or whether it be countries like Cuba, or the Far East, or in Africa that removed the colonialized countries, or what happened in India and Pakistan with the British leaving, it's not just a movement, a revolution in terms of physically expelling the oppressors. If you don't continue in the intellectual struggles, you're going to be back in the same spot. Because if you don't have an open mind, if you don't have a mind that is free to think, if you're not able to look at your past, then colonialization can happen over and over again. And so not only is it important to have a physical revolution, but the intellectual revolution has to be there. People have to be awakened. People have to have the ability of thought, of knowing their heritage. Because if it doesn't happen, like as I said, you can go back to the days how it used to be freedom. And so an intellectual revolution is as important as what Sayyid al-Shuhada did. Because the sixth Imam was able to bring out the teachings of the Ahlul Bayt. He was able to, in many different ways, teach what was missing of Islam that had been covered over due to the Bani Umayyah being in power, and then the Bani Abbas, taking over the reins. And so he realized that it's now important to train the next generation, train the youth especially. And so we see that the sixth Imam has this emphasis on the training of the youth of his community. Let me just begin with one hadith. He says in a tradition, he says in the Arabic, he says, "Badiru ahdathakum bil hadith, qabla an tasbiqakum ilayhim wal murji'a." He says that hasten to teach your youth our sayings, our hadith, our traditions, before the murji'a, this sect in Islam, get to you before our teachings can reach them. Now, let me just mention for a brief minute, as a side note, who these al-Murji'ah are. They were a deviant sect in Islam. They don't exist anymore. They came after the Shahadat of Amir al-Mu'mineen alayhi salam. As you know, the Khawarij were there at the time of the Commander of the Faithful. They had their own aqidah, their own ideology. But the sixth Imam in this hadith, and many times he singles out the Murji'ah. They were a very unique sect. They had, and I mean, there's not much left about them because they don't exist, but one of their beliefs, which shows a level of their deviancy, is they said that as long as you have belief in your heart, you're going to heaven. You don't have to perform good actions as a Muslim. So you could worship an idol, but as long as you believe in God, you're going to heaven. You can commit major sins, but you are always a Muslim and always you will go to heaven. So they had this belief that whatever action a person does, it doesn't matter. As long as you have iman, belief in the heart, actions are irrelevant. So ayat of the Quran that say, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, I don't know how they interpreted them, but they said that don't worry about belief. Don't worry about actions rather. Believe and that's all. You can sin, you can commit all these actions and you're okay. And they also believe that Muslims should not judge other Muslims. So if you see a Muslim killing, drinking alcohol, doing the sins, don't judge them because you don't know what's in their heart. They're Muslims in the heart. And we obviously have differences with that. I don't have time to, deconstruct the fallacy of that belief. We don't want to say that we can, pinpoint everybody's iman or lack of iman, but we do believe that iman is not just in the heart, as the hadith say. The sixth Imam would tell us that iman is in the heart, it's professed on the lips, and it's performed by the actions, by the body. So a person who says, I'm a Muslim, but they don't pray. They say, I'm a Muslim, but they don't wear hijab, knowing that it's wajib. A person who says, I'm a Muslim, but they drink alcohol, and they know it's haram. We have a right to judge them, right? And that's why, and it's a vast topic, but we have a concept of adalat in Islam, right? Prayer leaders have to have adalat. Judges, witnesses, all of these people have to have adalat, which means in Islam we are not only allowed to, but we are obligated to judge people. We have to tell somebody who's adil, who's just, who's fair, who is a righteous individual. So there are many levels where we could break up their fallacy of what they believe. But the point is the sixth Imam said that make sure that your youth get the right Islam before the other forms of Islam get to them. We don't have the Murji'ah today, but we have the Salafis, we have the Wahhabis, we have the Qadianis, we have all of these sects that don't have what we believe to be the true Islam. And so we would have to say that we should take the same hadith and say that we have to give our children in the 21st century the teachings of Ali Muhammad alayhi wassalam before the deviant Muslims out there get to them and make them terrorists, make them people who blow themselves up, make them people who commit the sins that they feel are that they can legitimize through their own scholarship. And obviously that calls for many different levels to take part in this. Primarily, our religious institutions need to be at the forefront. They have to be one of the players in this puzzle. The scholars in every community need to play their role. But ultimately, we have to ensure that the parents, that each and every mother and father, that they play their role. Because, and we know this, and I've probably mentioned this in the past, that madrasa is 2 hours a week if we're lucky, with breaks and lunch and salat and all of this. Thursday night programs, I'll talk for 40 minutes tonight. Maybe, and my time is almost up already, but I'll talk for 40 minutes and that's it. But our children are in school 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. They're on TV, they're on the internet, they're playing games on their phone, on their tablets. And so we can't expect that this building or this institute or our Jamaat or the lecturers can do miracles for the community. They're a support network, but they're not the ultimate source of that knowledge that should come to our children. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So let me go to the two topics for tonight from the sixth Imam, in areas which I feel, based on hadith of our Imam, the youth themselves need to be engaged in. And keep in mind that this is a two-way street, right? It's not just the responsibility of the scholars, of the masajid, of the jamaats, the institutions that we have created, the madrasas, to do this. It's also the job of the youth to find the field that they have a need that they want to fulfill, right? That they want to study Islam. They want to accept Islam not because they were born into the family, not because their mom and dad are Muslims from a Muslim country with a Muslim name, so now they're by default Muslims. But no, the youth also need to engage and do for themselves. It's like anything in life, right? When our children go to public school, they're engaged, they're active, they're learning because they want to learn. They want to, learn through elementary, through up to, university, to college, whatever. And so we have to ensure that Islam becomes a similar for them, that they also want to put the effort in to learn about the religion. And so tonight I want to look at just two aspects that we should focus on, again based on the hadith. The first is obviously knowledge, right? Because knowledge, as the hadith tells us, is the key to all success, right? In the secular world, we need knowledge. You want to make money, you need knowledge. Unless you're very, just by fluke you make it. But most people aren't like the Bill Gates and the Warren Buffetts of the world. Most of us have to go to school, get an education, get a good job, to get that good career, to make the money. So knowledge is important. But we should not just stop at knowledge. And I'll just mention this before I go to the hadith. Is that knowledge, as the urafa, as the mystics say, they say that al-ilm huwa hijabul akbar. Al-ilm huwa al-hijabul akbar. That knowledge is sometimes the greatest veil that we can put in front of ourselves. Now how can that be? How can knowledge, which should get me closer to Allah, which Rasulullah would say, go to China to seek, that men and women should seek knowledge, that seek knowledge from the cradle to the grave. Seek knowledge from whoever has it, because hikmah, wisdom, is the lost possession of a believer. How can all of those hadith, how can they be valid if the ulama say that knowledge is the greatest veil? What we have to realize is that if a person gains knowledge, not for the sake of Allah, they do it to show off. Sometimes this might happen, that we hear something in a lecture, maybe the speaker says something wrong, unintentionally, and we want to debate them, we want to show them off in the community, and so we make it a point to go and get the knowledge, to come back to the center to debate the scholar, to make a mockery of him, to insult him maybe in a gathering, that you said this, you're wrong. Rather than ask him in a polite manner that you mentioned this, can you clarify it, I've heard differently. Sometimes people will get that knowledge to debate and to argue with somebody, right? Knowledge is a weapon, definitely. It's power. As the Imam would say, that's ilm is sultan. Knowledge is power. But in the wrong, if it's taken with the wrong intention, it can kill, right? People who study chemistry, let's say, they can either use that knowledge for the betterment of humanity, or they can build chemical weapons. Right? People who study physics or any discipline, you can use it for the betterment of society, or you can create weapons of mass destruction. So think about Islamic knowledge in the same way. It can either get you closer to Allah, or you can end up like Ba'alam in the Quran, where Allah compares him to a dog. Allah says, مَثَلُهُ كَمَثَلِ كَلْبٍ. The example of Ba'alam, who was an alim, a scholar, an ayatollah, is like the example of a dog, Allah says. Because it wasn't for the sake of Allah. So gaining Islamic knowledge, brothers and sisters, at the first level should be to make myself a better person, to learn about what my obligation is to Allah, not to debate, not to go on Facebook and Twitter and debate with people and argue with people. It should be to make myself a human being, to make myself a better person. And then yes, if along the line somebody comes and they say, I don't understand your Shia belief, you can say, well, let's sit and discuss. I know why we follow 12 Imams. I know why we believe in this. I know why we believe in, whatever. But don't get knowledge just for the sake of debating online or arguing on social media or, debating at the MSA at university. Do it for the sake that you want to learn and get closer to Allah and then move forward. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. So the hadith I want to share with us from the sixth Imam is about the youth and gaining knowledge. I'll just give the English because of a lack of time. But the Imam says that I don't like to see any youth from amongst you. So he's talking to a group of Shia youth. The sixth Imam, he says, I don't like to see any youth from amongst you except that you are in one of two states. Either A, you're an alim, either A, you're a scholar, or you're a muta'allim. You are a student on the path. We shouldn't be of a third category that we just spend time, wasting time on frivolous activities. Either A, you're a scholar, in which case you're now teaching other people. You're imparting to other people now that you have practiced it. Or you're a student, you're gaining knowledge. He says, so then if a youth from amongst my Shia youth is not in one of these two states, either not a scholar or a student, he says you have forsaken your youth. You've just given up on your youth. And he says if he's forsaken his youth, then he has wasted his youth. You become a waste of a life. He says if you've wasted your youth, then you have committed an act of dhulm, of transgression. And he says if you've committed an act of transgression, he says, I swear by the one who appointed Muhammad with the truth, that you will reside in the fire of hell. So he's very blunt, the sixth Imam. He's not mincing his words. He's not being polite about it. He's saying you have to be one of two, either a scholar or a student. And if not, then basically expect yourself to be in the fire of hell. And again, I said that don't think of the youth only as 16 or 18 or 25 or 30. No, all of us in this room, we should all consider ourselves the youth for this hadith and spend time every week to gain knowledge of religion. Right? We have hadith that the Imams of Ahlul Bayt tell us that at least one day a week, on a Friday, we should spend some time gaining Islamic knowledge. And I don't say open up Tafsir al-Mizan and read it cover to cover. No, open up a book of hadith, read one hadith a week. Open up a tafsir of Quran, learn one verse of the Quran and what it means. Right? Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, we say it, 30 times, 40 times, 100 times a day. Do we know the meaning of it? Why is Ar-Rahman, why is Ar-Rahim? What is the difference between these two? Right? I don't say go to Mullah Sadra and study philosophy and spirituality and all of these mystics. Take something simple, each and every one of us, learn one thing a week and implement it in our lives and fulfill the words of the sixth Imam that either we are a scholar or we are a student on the path of Islamic knowledge. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Let me also say that it's also important that as a community, we encourage our youth to go to post-secondary. We have two great universities here in Waterloo. We have Conestoga College. We have U of T just an hour away. And it's important for our youth to go to university. But as a community, we have to ensure that we are also thinking about higher Islamic studies. We have a house in Toronto. We have Qom, we have Najaf, we have many seminaries around the world. And we have to, as a community, really get our minds together and encourage our youth, those who are the brightest, those who are intellectuals, those who are smart, who have the capacity to study, to support them, to give them the airfare, to give them accommodation, to give them a monthly allowance to go and study in the seminaries of Najaf or Qom, and to encourage them to go and study and come back. Because ultimately, if we are building centers, and as a community, we're building masajid all across this country, $2 million, $5 million, $20 million masajid. But the problem is that they're empty of guidance. As the hadith of Rasulullah says in Akhir al-Zaman, masajiduhum amira, that the masajid will be beautiful masajid, but they'll be empty of guidance, devoid of ulama. Right? You build a hospital and you don't have doctors, just a lot of nurses running around, you can't do anything. And so at the same time that we spend millions on these mega mosques with gyms and kitchens and all of these facilities, are we even thinking about ulama to guide the communities? I would say if we're not thinking about it, then we need to do something about it. We have to, as a community, as a collective, not one or two people, but all of us, think about this and try to put a plan into place to encourage our youth, to support them, and to ensure that when they come back, they have a community that they can work with. They're not having to go and work a 9-to-5 job, and they can't lead daily prayers. They can't give classes to the community. This is something that all of us as a collective, as we know that gaining knowledge is an obligation, is an obligation on all of us. But if even 1 or 2 or 5 of us fulfill that, we fulfilled our obligation. And if none of us go to Najaf or Qum to study, and our community deviates, guess what? We're all accountable. We're all going to be answerable to Allah on the Day of Judgment. Just like if a Muslim were to pass away today, and none of us said we're going to give the ghusl and the kafan and bury him, we're all sinners. Similarly is Islamic knowledge. If none of us go, and we have a vacuum of leadership in our community, we're all going to be accountable, and we all are sinners in the eyes of Allah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. And the second point I'll conclude with this tonight is about the youth and worship of Allah. So level 1 is knowledge, to get the knowledge of Allah, the knowledge of the sacred, the knowledge of religion, to implement it. And then also the second important factor that the 6th Imam speaks about in other hadith is about worship of Allah, ibadat. And worship, although we know the definition is a very vast definition. So as I've mentioned probably in the past, if youth get together, if the brothers get together and let's say play cricket or play basketball, but they do so with one another with the niyat that they want to establish ties amongst one another, that is ibadat, that is worship, right? Obviously, we tend to look at worship as praying, as fasting, as all of these actions, and that's obviously important as well, but we can make every act of ours into an act of ibadat. But I want to look at ibadat maybe in a more general sense, right? In terms of the Imam and his guidance to the youth of them being in a state of ibadat, a state of worship with Allah. And the hadith that the 6th Imam says, and again I'll just go through the English translation. He says, indeed the most beloved of creations to Allah is the youth who are young in age. So here he makes a differentiation. He says your youth, he talks about the shab, right? The shabab, the youth. But he says they're also young in age. So this will probably exclude a lot of us. Maybe anybody over 30, it probably doesn't, include you. But you can still listen to the hadith. He says the most beloved of Allah's creations are those young men, young women who are youth and they're young in age. And he says they are very attractive. They're beautiful. They're handsome. They're young ladies who are attractive young ladies. They're young men who are very attractive. Maybe they go to the gym, they work out, they have a lot of muscles around them. They have a very, good complexion. But he says that they spend their youth, that young age, and the beauty, the good looks that Allah has given them in the obedience of Allah. Sometimes you look at social media and you see, not this community, but youth in particular, they'll get engaged or they'll get married and they'll have photos of them and their spouse on all the social media platforms. And they'll be hugging on the beach and they'll be kissing, they'll be walking romantically into a sunset. And then you look at the comments, and unfortunately I saw this the other day on Facebook. Young couple got engaged or they got married, and the comment was, there was a comment, mashallah, you both look beautiful. But the comment was from a guy. So I'm thinking, why are you commenting on another guy's wife, how beautiful she looks, right? And unfortunately, it's a problem on all sides. That boy, that man should have not made the comment about that woman. But that husband shouldn't post his picture of his wife with makeup and her wedding dress on social media. So everybody's really to blame, right? And I'm not old-fashioned. I'm not against social media. I use much of it, Snapchat and Instagram and all of these things. But we have to be careful and think about what we post. When we're young, we don't think about it. But all of what you post online, it stays on the internet forever. You think, well, I deleted my Facebook profile, but guess what? They own all of your photos. Read the terms of agreement. When you post a photo on Facebook, they own that photo forever. They archive it. You might have deleted it on your Facebook page, but Facebook has a copy of it. Instagram has a copy of it. They own all of that. They can use your photo in a dating service ad, and you can't do anything about it because you hit sign and you created an account. So we have to be wise about it. You know, take pictures, share it with the friends, but be careful of what you share. The sixth Imam says, he says the most beloved servant of Allah is the youth. Number one. Number two, they are young in age. Number three, they're good looking. But they use their youth and their good looks, their charm, in the obedience of Allah. They don't break Allah's rules. And then the hadith is so profound. At the end of the hadith, the sixth Imam says that if you're a youth and you can do this, he says Allah boasts to the angels. Allah becomes proud to the angels, and he says that this is my true servant. This young lady who I have given beauty to, but she is protecting her beauty. She has that haya, that modesty. She won't post her face all over social media. She's keeping herself for her husband in the future. She's not going to show off what she looks like. Allah tells the angels, that is my true servant right there. And to the men who might go to the gym and work out and have the muscles, but they don't post on social media in a tank top or, pressing weights or on the beaches. Allah looks at that young man who might look good, who Allah has, endowed with handsomeness, with muscles, but he preserves himself. He doesn't show that off. He keeps it for his spouse to be. Allah tells the angels, I am proud of that individual. That is my true servant. And as I conclude, that if we as young men and women of any age can heed such teachings of the sixth Imam, we will see that there will be a change in our lives. We'll see a change in our community, change in our society. And ultimately, even if there's no change on the outside, we change for ourselves. We don't change for other people. We change because Allah wants us to change. And we change based on the teachings that we have from the Prophet, from the Imams, and especially from our sixth beloved Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq alayhi salatu wassalam. Let me conclude with one or two words about the shahadat of our sixth Imam. As we mark his shahadat, as I mentioned in the beginning, that he was killed in this month of Shawwal on the 25th to be exact, which was his past Monday. Born on the 17th of Rabiul Awwal, the same day as the birth of Rasulullah. 65 years after he came into this world, the sixth Imam left this world. The Imam who lived the longest out of the first 11 Imams, who had the longest imamat out of the 11 Imams. And he had one of the most difficult periods out of all of the Imams. As I said, that his entire life was during the time of 10 of the Khulafa of Bani Umayyah. 10 Khulafa. That just shows you how much of a level of oppression and tyranny there was amongst the Bani Umayyah, that they couldn't even stand one another. They would kill one another for power. This caliph would come in for a year or two. His son would kill him. His father would kill the son for power. And then eventually, after the decline of the Bani Umayyah and after the Umayyad regime was completely obliterated, the Bani Abbas came on the scene. And brothers and sisters who have studied history, you know that the Bani Abbas were no better than Bani Umayyah. They were oppression in another form. It was another form of tyranny, although they claimed to be lovers of Ali Muhammad, although they claimed to take the right of Ali Muhammad back. But they were the first to take the right and to take the haqq again from the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. And the sixth Imam was no exception to this rule. After having gone through the first Khalifa of the Bani Abbas, the next Khalifa comes on the scene, Abu Ja'far Mansur Dawaniki, an oppressor, a zalim in every way of that word. And as we know that the sixth Imam was not spared the oppression of al-Dawaniqi. He was pressured many times by the Khulafa. He was pressured at many different levels. And eventually, as the Khulafa saw that they could not control the sixth Imam, they could not control these beautiful teachings of Ala Muhammad to permeate to the hearts of the masses, because they realized he was changing the hearts and the minds of the people. And people were on the verge of maybe even coming over to the teachings of Ala Muhammad, that they decided to get rid of the sixth Imam. And so just as was the way that many of the other Imams who had been killed by poison, the sixth Imam was also given poison to be consumed. And brothers and sisters, as the sixth Imam is passing away, as the poison is going through his body and he's about to leave this world, and he calls his Shias near to him, he calls the family near to him, he lets out one final hadith, and I'll conclude with this, where he tells his Shias, he tells the family, he says, tell my Shia, tell my followers who will come in the latter days that our shafa'at will never reach the person who takes his salat lightly. The one who considers the namaz to be trivial, our shafa'at will never reach to them. He didn't talk about people who didn't pray at all. He said that our Shia who maybe pray late, who are busy watching TV, who are spending time on other stuff and don't pray on time, he says our shafa'at will not reach to them. وَسَيَعْلَمُ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا أَيَّ مُنْقَلِبٍ يَنْقَلِبُونَ إِنَّا لِلَّهِ وَإِنَّا إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. We ask Allah on this night, when we commemorate the shahadat of our sixth Imam, Imam Ja'far al-Sadiq, that Allah accept this act of worship from us tonight. We ask Allah to give the thawab of this majlis tonight of the Surah Yasin, the Dua Kumail, of the majlis and the hadith that we've heard of our sixth Imam to the souls of all of our marhumin. We ask Allah to join us in the company of Muhammad and Ali Muhammad in the world to come. We ask Allah to bring about an end to all forms of oppression and tyranny and injustice around this world, and that we can live to see the dawn of the dhuhur of our 12th Imam. رَبَّنَا تَقَبَّلْ مِنَّا إِنَّكَ أَنْتَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Let us conclude by one Surah Al-Fatiha for the thawab of all of the marhumin, from our community, our family, our friends, the ulama, the shuhada. But before that, one salawat upon Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa nasta'in. Ihdinas siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladhina an'amta 'alayhim ghayril maghdubi 'alayhim waladdallin. Sadaqallahu al-'azim.
Ya Hussein, Hussein, Ya 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 Hussein.
कलमा गोये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गोये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गोये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गोये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें। तूने जो आले मोहम्मद पे सितम ढाए हैं, कलमा गोये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गोये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें। तूने जो आले मोहम्मद पे सितम ढाए हैं, कलमा गोये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गोये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें। हमसे कहते हो कि शबीर का मातम ना करो, हमसे कहते हो कि शबीर का मातम ना करो। हम तो गमखार है रोने کے لیے آئے ہیں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات لٹ گئی کربلا میں فاطمہ کی بیٹی لٹ گئی کربلا میں فاطمہ کی بیٹی جس کی بیٹی جس کے بھائیوں کے جو سر نے زوں پہ اٹھوائے ہیں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کر چھن گئی چادر زینب رائے عباس نہ جب چھن گئی چادر زینب رائے عباس نہ جب ہے بیمار کو زنجیر بھی پہنائے ہیں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں کر دیا قتل بلا کے ہے مسلمانوں نے کر دیا قتل بلا کے ہے مسلمانوں نے آل احمد کے فرد خون میں نہلائے ہیں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں پانی مانگا تھا لگا تیر گلے اصغر پہ پانی مانگا تھا لگا تیر گلے اصغر پہ بوند پانی کے وزتی رو کے جامائے ہیں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا تیری کیا بات پوچھا سجاد سے زینب نے یہ چلتے چلتے پوچھا سجاد سے زینب نے یہ چلتے چلتے شام ہے دور ابھی کتنی ہم کہاں آئے ہیں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں تو نے جو آل محمد پہ ستم ڈھائے ہیں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں کلمہ گو یہ تو بتا ہم تیری کیا بات کریں بار دیگر بلندتر صلوات
متوجہ زیارہ السلام علیکہ یا رسول اللہ السلام علیکہ یا نبی اللہ السلام عليك يا حبيب الله السلام عليك يا باعث الهدى السلام عليك. السلام على ابنتك فاطمة. السلام على ابن عمك أمير المؤمنين. السلام على سبطيك الحسن والحسين وعلى 9 المعصومين من ذرية الحسين، علي بن الحسين ومحمد بن علي وجعفر بن محمد وموسى بن جعفر وعلي بن موسى ومحمد بن علي وعلي بن محمد والحسن بن علي. السلام على الحجة ابن الحسن القائم المنتظر المهدي، عجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل الله مخرجك وظهورك، وجعل من عوانك وأنصارك واللائزين تحت لوائك. السلام عليكم يا أهل بيت النبوة جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. اللهم كن لوليك الحجة ابن الحسن صلواتك عليه وعلى آبائه في هذه الساعة وفي كل ساعة وليا وحافظا وقائدا وناصرا ودليلا وعينا حتى تسكنه أرضك طوعا وتمتعه فيها طويلا برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين. اللهم صل على محمد.